There is something about early morning that feels different as you grow older. The house is quieter. The light is softer. Time seems to move more slowly, or perhaps more honestly. And if you share your home with a cat, you may not be alone. Because long before you open your eyes, your cat is already awake. Your cat wakes not to alarms, but to instinct. To the faint shift of light through the window, to the subtle sounds the world makes before most people notice it is awake. It sits somewhere nearby, watching, listening, not impatient, not demanding, just aware. And perhaps, if you have ever opened your eyes and found your cat already looking at you, you have felt that small, curious moment, as if your cat has been there longer than you realized, as if your cat has been waiting. To us, it may seem like nothing, just a cat sitting quietly, but inside your cat's mind, this is the beginning of its day. And it begins with you, your breathing, your movement, the rhythm of your waking. Cats are observers first. Before they act, they watch. Before they move, they understand. And over time, your cat learns you. Not just your schedule, but your patterns. The way you turn in your sleep. The sound of your footsteps. The difference between a calm morning and a heavy one. As the day begins, your cat does not rush. It moves slowly through its world, from one familiar place to another. The doorway, the window, the edge of the sofa, the quiet corner of the room. To an outside observer, it might look like wandering, but it is not. Your cat is checking its world, confirming that everything is as it should be. Cats are territorial creatures, but more than that, they are creatures of awareness. They map their world carefully. Every object, every scent, every change. And over time, you become part of that map. Not just another presence, but a central one. If you leave the room, your cat may follow, not always closely, not always in a way that demands attention. Sometimes just a few steps behind. Sometimes appearing in the next room. Many people think this is curiosity, and sometimes it is. But often, it is something deeper. Because your cat is not just exploring space. It is tracking you, where you go, what you do, how you move through your day. You are part of its environment, part of its rhythm, part of what makes the world feel predictable. And as life teaches us, predictability can feel a lot like comfort. By midday, the house settles again. The movement slows, and your cat rests. But even in rest, your cat is not absent. A cat's sleep is different, lighter than it seems. Ready to shift at the smallest sound, the ears twitch. The body adjusts. Even in sleep, your cat remains connected to its surroundings, and to you, there is something deeply peaceful about a cat at rest, curled into itself, breathing slowly, completely still. It is a kind of trust, because sleep, for any creature, is a vulnerable state. And when your cat chooses to sleep in your home, near your chair, on your bed, it is saying something without words. This place is safe enough for me to let go. That is not a small thing. especially for those who have lived long enough to know how rare true safety can feel. As the afternoon passes, something else happens. Your cat watches again, perhaps from a window, perhaps from a quiet place across the room. It observes movement outside, light shifting, shadows changing. But it also watches you, and not in a casual way. Cats notice details. The way you sit, the way you pause, the way your voice sounds when you speak or don't. They notice when something is different, even when you think it isn't visible. There are moments in life when something feels heavier than usual, not enough to explain, not enough to name, but enough to be felt. And sometimes, in those moments, your cat comes closer, sits near you, follows you more than usual, chooses your presence more deliberately, not loudly, not dramatically, just closer. And if you've ever experienced that, you know it doesn't feel like coincidence. It feels like recognition. As evening arrives, the house begins to shift again. Movement returns. You become more active, and your cat responds. This is often when your cat is most aware of you. Sitting nearby, watching more closely, following from one room to another. This is not just routine. This is connection. Cats may not show excitement like dogs do, but they engage in their own way, through proximity, through presence, through quiet companionship. And for many people, especially later in life, that kind of companionship matters deeply. Not overwhelming, not demanding, just there. Night brings another change. Something older awakens in your cat, an instinct, a rhythm that does not belong entirely to the modern home. Cats are most active at dawn and dusk. It is written into them, even after generations of living indoors. And so at night, your cat becomes more alert, more watchful, more alive. It may move more quickly, chase shadows, follow sounds you cannot hear. To you, it may seem restless, but to your cat, this is natural. This is when the world feels most alive. And yet, even in this instinctive state, your cat remains aware of you. It knows where you are, whether you are asleep, whether you are still, whether the house is quiet, and often it returns to the bed, to the room, to the place where you are. So what is your cat thinking through all of this? Not in words, not in sentences. Cats do not think the way we do. They think in patterns, in recognition, in experience. But within those patterns, there are feelings. Your cat feels safety or lack of it, comfort or tension, curiosity or caution, connection or distance. And over time, those feelings become associated with you. You become the familiar presence, the known voice, the predictable rhythm, the one constant in a world your cat quietly observes, and perhaps most importantly, you become part of what your cat trusts. Your cat may not need you every second. It may not follow you everywhere. It may not always respond the way you expect. But that does not mean your cat feels nothing. It means your cat feels differently, with more quiet, more subtlety, more restraint. And if you've lived long enough, you understand that kind of feeling. Because life teaches you that the deepest connections are not always the loudest ones. They are the steady ones, the quiet ones, the ones that remain. Your cat's day may look simple from the outside, sleeping, walking, watching. But inside, it is a world of awareness, of noticing, of quietly experiencing everything around it, including you. And maybe that is the most important part. Because while you are living your day, your cat is living it with you, watching, learning, adapting, staying. Not because it has to, but because in its own quiet way, it has chosen to. And that choice, small as it may seem, carries more meaning than we often realize. If you listen closely, if you watch carefully, you may begin to understand something simple, but profound. Your cat is not just living in your home, it is living alongside you, in its own rhythm, in its own language, but always aware of your presence. And perhaps, in a world that grows quieter with time, there is something deeply comforting about that. A small life, moving beside yours. Not loudly, not dramatically, but faithfully. If you've ever wondered what your cat is thinking, maybe the better question is this. Not what your cat thinks, but what your cat feels when it chooses to stay.